Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Washington is open to alternative plans to deliver aid into Gaza after the current US and Israeli-backed operation came under heavy criticism. Speaking from Turkey, Rubio acknowledged the United Nations rejection of the plan, citing a lack of neutrality, impartiality and independence. Meanwhile, according to the Gazan Health Ministry, at least 143 people have been killed since the dawn of Thursday. The deadliest strikes included on a house in Al-Ajana Street in the Jabalia camp, killing 6, and repeated bombings in Bet Laia, which 3 were killed in Al-Sultan neighborhood and others died under artillery fire. Attacks also hit Al-Fakura and Khan Yunis, adding to the toll. In the West Bank, Israeli forces killed 5 Palestinians in Tamun in a raid following the killing of an Israeli settler. Gaza's European hospital in Khan Yunis is now out of service, deepening the region's humanitarian crisis. According to multiple reports in Gaza's El Maghazi camp, residents say they're receiving texts inviting them to interviews at the Israeli-controlled Netzarim corridor, a purported way to leave the war-torn strip. The message, written in Arabic, requests people to contact Captain Abu al-Majd via WhatsApp. Many Gazans say they're desperate for safety but distrust the offer, viewing it as a psychological tool amid escalating conflict. We're now joined by Adit Kothari, who is a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, Adit, for joining us on the programme. This plan to supply the people of Gaza with aid has been highly controversial. The people of Gaza have been under blockade now for nearly 7 weeks. Marco Rubio says that the US is open to alternative plans for the Gaza aid. Can you first of all explain to us why this aid plan is controversial?
So the aid plan is controversial on a number of lines, Josh, primarily because it doesn't believe that the Hamas-controlled bodies are actually filtering down the aid to the people of Gaza. They suspect that the aid is actually not trickling down to the ones who truly need them, and they are actually they're using that for economic benefits. And this is something that has been suspected long by the Israeli agencies as well, which is why they're sort of rationing it into Gaza. But the reports coming in from Gaza are quite severe. I mean, almost famine-like, where access to water has completely depleted, and safe drinking water is not available to the general public. Food and medicines are not available. No matter how much money you would have, the prices have skyrocketed to about 15 to 20 times for bare necessities. So in the grand scheme of things, it's issues like that which require a alternative means for a separate plan to ensure that the population of Gaza do not suffer disproportionately because of this particular skirmish between Hamas and Netanyahu's military.
Yes, and Adit, it's been reported that there's been 143 people killed in a single day, and also a hospital which has been put out of service. Does this still fit with the US position that Israel is acting with, quote, restraint?
So Steve Witkoff's been, he's been in the Middle East for some time. They've been having back and forth between the Qatari mediators and the Israeli side. And they've got to know where there are still 23, I believe, hostages which are meant to be alive, and the Israelis are basically putting down conditions that to ensure that their safe return is of absolutely paramount importance.
Does it seem like the Israeli army is acting like the return of the hostages is the most important thing on their agenda right now?
Thomas, I think if there are some pressing issues internally, almost 2/3 of the population in Israel is quite, they're quite drained out from this particular war, and they want this to end, and they want those 23 hostages to be back home. So it's pressure from internal politics that is actually trying to ensure that the military acts in a certain way. But there are the hardliners within the polity, which obviously have their own interests at this point, where they're absolutely relentless and they have no resolve to basically let this go. So that's basically trickling down into the military actions as well, and which we're seeing.
Adi, I just want to touch on this
the sort of aggression and the.
Apologies. There was an internet issue there. But I just want to touch on something quite briefly. We've spoken about the 5 militants who were killed in the West Bank after an Israeli settler, a pregnant Israeli settler, was killed. These Israeli raids in the separate Palestinian territory have intensified. Do you think we're seeing the conflict spill across territories in a way that could destabilize the entire region?
I don't think there's any more issues left to destabilize. I think that the region is already destabilized enough. Now the question is, how do we actually ensure that we can stabilize it and bring back some amount of sanity? And for that, it's the problem is the Hamas is holding the people of Gaza as hostages, whereas Netanyahu is basically holding the people of Israel as hostages. Both of them need to concede, they need to compromise, and for the good of humanity, they need to come back to the table, to the drawing board, and need to work this out. Hamas needs to demilitarize, they need to depoliticize themselves in a certain way to ensure that whatever issues Israel have with Hamas, which are legitimate, the fact that you cannot use human shield, the fact that you cannot use asymmetrical warfare against another sovereign state, you will need to cede into this whole approach of complete annihilation of Israel. So those are some of the legitimate demands that Israel is making. From a Hamas side, it's the two-state solution proposal that needs to be taken cognizance of. So it's those kind of back and forth that needs to be mediated, which I think the Qataris and the United States are wanting to address. But I think there is absolutely nothing that the Israelis or Hamas are trying to give in. So the problem basically exists on that particular front, Thomas.
Adi Kathari, thank you very much for joining us on the program and for your insight. We now move over to